Okay, Duane, there's some intriguing thing. Not really intriguing for you, but uh, yeah, the new nowness has emerged from the past ages, and in the past, the old masters were careful not to incur the wrath of the ruling class, the authoritarians, and to my mind, it was not yet time to talk about the East. Does it does it mean that those who came before you without demonstrating the ease are less real guys than you are? Uh, and for openly talking about the ease in this age, do you really think anything has changed? And do you think that after the new time, which you epitomize as the new man and the new woman, do you think the ease will be subverted somehow?
Well, these are just ideas, Charles, in creation. So anything that's brought up that it's very simple, that really doesn't make sense, uh, then people decide that. And again, look at the whole world. Uh, Most of the world, no matter what it does, it's working. People are driving cars, flying airplanes. They have their jobs, chasing money. All these things, investing in the stock market, buying real estate, etc. Does that make sense? None of it does. You see the birds doing that. They don't do any of that. And especially the Indians and whatever, the indigenous people, they don't do any of these things. So, nothing can touch life itself. But the idea is, when I say the isness, that's a created idea as a reference in creation. That's what that is. And so people will, like anything, of course, they will take that idea and start to, add more ideas that take the attention off the original idea. And so to see the original idea, just like what Paul presented, over the years, it's become to where those people that weren't there at that time, as an example, and did not see what Paul was presenting, because again he had to deal with creation and all the obstacles here, constantly restrictions and the bombardment of ideas and nonsense. And so now people can write and say whatever they want about it, and it becomes so. And see, this is how it is, and it has nothing to do with the with Paul, the original being that had the experience here, because anyone can see Paul on the real side, and he's fine. These are just ideas that people are chasing here that confuse themselves, and again, they have the right to do that. I will agree with people that confuse themselves. I will even build them up. I will even cheer them on. It's like, go for it. You're doing great. You've totally misunderstood that, but that's fine. You have the right to do that. I'm not going to disagree with their free will. I'm just my adventure is looking for people with the sincerity to recognize what is real and what makes sense, and to stand real with those who do. That's all. It's so simple. And there's the endlessness that life is, but you got to see it. Yeah, you have to see it. And so, in other words, I'm not concerned about what happens to even what I present or the words of the books or anything. I'm not concerned, because I'm fine with the challenge of presenting something that constantly makes sense, that's indifferent to what other people decide. So I'm fine with it, whether it's all destroyed or not or whatever. It doesn't matter, because every moment's new, and that's just how it is. So it's so cool. So I'm fine with it. I'm not emotionally attached to it. I do to get discouraged if the computer goes down and I've written something and I'm not quite done. which I did the other day, and I had to rewrite it. That's a little discouraging because now I got to do it again, but usually comes out better. But whatever, it's always there. And so, see, because I have gone through what I have gone through, and all the tortures and torment and everything else here, and still going through it with myself and creation itself, I see the difference. And it doesn't mean it's easier for me. I still have to do it. But I see the difference between creation and the isness. That's the real value that I have for myself. And that is where everything becomes gratitude because of that. And so that's what I live for, is to stand real in this gratitude that I see the difference. And so no matter what happens, no matter what will happen at the new presentation or the isness idea, whatever, it doesn't matter. And it has been presented before, but it was pushed aside. And you're seeing like the ISIS thing, that was at one time the is. At one time that, history doesn't record because it's all been covered up. But it's there. You see, so they bring it out of the cryptic state, and then they put it on to mercenaries to destroy others, and so they make it appear, the deceptors make it appear that it is something evil, like the Lucifer idea. Lucifer is not evil. He was branded evil. He's an angel, okay, in creation. He's not evil, but the church branded him evil because they don't want competition with their fake god Callum. So all of a sudden, Lucifer becomes the devil. Very real. I know a lady that had conversed with Lucifer. And yes, he's having a hell of a time in creation. He can't convince anybody, but this is how they label him. Just like Paul is gone, they've labeled him a plagiarist, a cultist, all these things. And going back to L. Ron Hubbard and all these things he studied and whatever, brought it all up. David Lane and all these things. Fine, I don't care. I love the challenge. I'm not given to people's opinions, because these are the know-it-alls that really don't have the experience. So why would I waste my time with their opinions? Not at all, but sometimes I have fun with it bothering them, like I've bothered the corporation. That's just part of, whatever. It's like a kitty cat, chasing a dog. It's just for the fun of it. So, we do these things from time to time because that's how we are in creation. And, we get bored here. I get bored at times. And it's very real. This is really actually a very boring place. I don't like sitting here watching the world die, and then just going to the market every day and buying food and going through this routine and all this process. This stuff's very boring. I like to create things that make sense, that, expand upon themselves if I'm going to be in creation. But it's a toughie because I get a huge restriction from, fortunately we have the Skype group as an example, but huge restriction out there. Because again, what I'm presenting is usually misrepresented and turned this way and that way, and people get a distortion of it, and all of a sudden, I'm the bad guy, which is fine. Again, I like the challenge. Same with Rebazar and the boys. People fear them. They're evil. That's just how it is. Again, I don't pretend any of this stuff, Charles. You step up to it. You face the world for what it is, and it's okay. But at the same time, it's okay to decide something that just doesn't comply with the demise of the world, too. It's okay to do that. But for the most part, people will say, well, what can I do? Like I told my neighbor one day, I said, look at the chemtrails. He says, well, there's nothing I can do about it. Well, actually, there is. You can learn to become more aware. Will you take the time to do that? But I didn't say that. I just left it at that. I'm not going to sit there and lecture the individual. But yes, there is something. And so I hint at it. But he's going to have to find it now. He's going to have to look on Facebook or look on the internet as an example, because I'm not going to sit there and lecture him about it. It's like, figure it out. You're the smart guy, figure it out. So again, creation's an interesting place. We can only do so much. We are not obligated to anything here. Again, like the sun shining, it's an isness. And when you stand in that isness, that is the best part. You're not a know-it-all. It's not about knowing anything. Actually, it's better you don't know anything because everything is available. It's very interesting. But at the same time, will you step up and have the courage to present something to this world? Because if I didn't create this, none of the people would be here. You wouldn't be here. And so I'm grateful to Paul to do the first part because I needed that too. I needed to go through that process so that I could get here to do this part. You see, so when it comes to whatever the so-called the ideas that I'm sharing, the isness or whatever, it's a given that most people will never understand, never even come close to understanding what it is. Because again, it doesn't make me special. All I'm doing is seeing what life is and doing the best I can to share that. And so the world is very fortunate that I've decided to do this because I have free will too. I have free choice too. And so again, as people beg the guides to, decide and live their lives, guess what? These individuals have lives too, and they decide. And so my relationship with Paul and Rebazar and whatever, it's very interesting. And that is that, right now we're working on some things that are really kind of funny to most of the world, but I just put in the request. Who am I? The thing being is that, and they decide if they'll do it or not. But it's not about me. It's about what I see. And so, and if they don't, they don't. But they're doing it. And so we'll see how this comes out. But again, it needs agreement in this world. So what comes of all of this, Charles? It's all okay. It's always okay. Yeah, that's the best part of it. It's always okay. And yes, creation becomes its own reality. And each individual decides that reality, or they can recognize what is real comparatively, and then it all becomes okay, or stay stuck in creation, because then it's a real stinker when you're stuck and you can't see anything but this physical realm. It becomes very real, even though the individual may believe in a God or this or that, the guides. Yes, so for the moment, Charles, this is what we do. The real adventure is to see what comes up next and to take on the challenge of it or not. Each person, this is where I've seen so many people come and go. And it is a lot. I get that because creation in one's personal life is huge. And being able to understand that and really surpassing that, that's a lot. So again, we'll see what happens. But for right now, we just do what we do. I just do what I do. See who comes and goes and who sticks around. I'm amazed that people do. When I look at the people that have been here for a while, it's a lot. It really is. Yeah, this is a lot to take in and a lot to handle and to present this and then to take on the world and what comes from it. Yeah, it's a whole lot, but this is how it is. So what do we do? Because the world only has so much time. This is very real. And you can see what's going on all over the world. There's so many things going on. And the order of the day is to destroy the earth. And this is what they're doing, little at a time. And so we're in it. So do we watch it or do we step up and do we do something with it? Or is our personal life and our job and everything else so important, as we do those things at the same time? But at the same time we do this. So all the years I was in the corporation, yeah, I worked construction. I was general contractor. Almost 40 years. But at the same time, I did everything I could to promote this to the world, etc. And now even more so because the world's a lot worse off, or we sit and watch it do what it's going to do because it's not stopping. And no sound good idea is going to fix it. There's no fixing the world. That's real. Because most people don't want it fixed. They say they do, but they really don't. Yeah. They want it just like it is because, people have been caught up They have been educated to be literalized, and they've been caught up in the control aspect. Everybody's got their little control system going, and that adds to the consciousness and to the influence. And it's so agreeable. Everybody wants their little position of control. Well, they got it. And it leads to the effect of their own demise again and again. There was a movie when I was young, it's called The Never Ending Story. And at a certain point, the little girl tells the hero, the darkness is coming. You must decide something. You must imagine something else because the darkness is coming. So if you don't do anything, it's coming. And this is how real it is. Yes. You know, the interesting thing is Claudia and I did on the Phantom Zone thing the other day. And I was talking to her yesterday. And the reality is that we're not doing these people any injustice because they deserve it, you might say. And we're not the judge and jury here. But the reality is that we're really helping them along to the darkness that they're running towards. I see it on the real side. People are running into a future that doesn't exist. They're running into the Phantom Zone, which is a blackness where there is no creation. And so those people that are interfering the most, we're simply getting them out of the way and doing them a favor of putting them right in there right now, because it's all going to show up for them anyhow, you see? And they don't see it yet, though. But it's very real. So, you know, recognizing what's going on in creation and recognizing the all is, the isness life is, I would say that that's very important for the individual to stay aware of something. But again, people make choices. So this is where we're at. And what comes from it doesn't change the whole of life. Creation is something decided personally. The reality life is an isness. So nothing can touch that. That's for sure. But again, each person decides if they want to live in their ideas of things or they want to see the true reality life is. So, we're in a very interesting situation, and it's speeding headlong into the Phantom Zone. That's what the world is doing. Go ahead, Charles.
Okay. Yeah, Duane, we'll come back to this risk takers. On the new way, we are called upon to be risk takers. So are we supposed to take calculated risks, or are we to abandon caution to the winds, Duane?
When you're driving down the street, Charles, and it says, and you see a street sign, and it says caution, duck crossing or whatever. Okay, so what do? Huh? Do you just drive over the sign and keep going? What do you do?
You have to.
You ever
slow
seen
down.
caution signs? You ever seen? Do they have caution signs in China?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, or they got a little yellow light blinking or whatever. But you can have an attitude. You can say, "I don't like that sign. I'm just going to drive over it." Okay.
They'll earn you a ticket and maybe even deportation.
Wow, even deportation. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. All right, or put into a box and shipped somewhere else. Right.
Yes.
So again, anything can happen. So
anything can happen.
Yeah. So when it comes to caution, I know it's a funny thing. And, when I'm standing there at the signal as an example and the light is red, it's like, I really want to go through that red light, but there's a lot of cars coming. So I am cautious of all the oncoming traffic. So, yes, I consider that also.
Okay. I thought one just has to proclaim risk takers have nothing to stop them and just go ahead.